English News
and a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences, dear brothers, sisters. Welcome to the East-West show that is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry that has 400 years of a glorious history, hand-forged by 10 generations of the greatest craftsmen, and that stands for a testimony of the spectacular and a share of the royal glory. That brings us to the story for today. With me, my good friend Chris Nebe, famous world-renowned director, screenwriter, producer of Hollywood. Mr. Chris Nebe, welcome to the show.
I'm honored, as usual, to be here in your glorious company.
Thank you.
Ponyo.
Same here, Phil, same here. All right, good. The subject for today is not that exciting because we really are worried about our global planet, the little teeny tiny ball that we call home. And finally, we have limited land, we have limited resources, which are shrinking. At this moment, any bad news that we hear regarding the safeguard of the little globe would be kind of on our nerves, right? Right now, I'm hearing upon the word of the Amazon rainforest development, quote unquote development. I almost jumped, and I called my friend Chris, and we come here. That's why we're here today, right? And what have you heard about the rainforest development, so-called?
The previous government of Brazil was very much intended and interested in keeping the rainforest as pristine as possible, despite of the huge profits involved in logging. There's a new government now which has sold out the rainforest to make money. And they are allowing timber loggers to cut down the rainforest, and each day there are 3 football fields being cut down. And
They started already?
Oh yeah, they started, and they started against the opposition of anybody who is involved in environmental projects. And they are a right-wing government compared to a socialist government, which was the previous government. And they are corrupt and exploit the situation for the benefit of money. And by doing so, they are severely further endangering the environmental situation in our times.
We understand, according to last time I searched, there are 71% of water on the surface of globe, of Earth, and 29% of water, 29% of land of the surface Earth. Among the 29%, it is not every land is farmable, right? For example, the Siberian land, or above the northern hemisphere, all the way towards the North Pole, right? And those are lands that have no use. The reasonable land that is amicable, left over for farming, for agriculture, are so limited, right? As for natural resources remaining untouched. The Amazon rainforest probably is the only one left, isn't it?
That I don't know. There are other areas which are, I'm sure, of importance, but the rainforest is so big. And you see, the rainforest is a unique ecological habitat that stabilizes the climate on planet Earth. Even though that some, it collects, or the built-up CO and the impact of carbon emission is being reduced by the Amazon rainforest. And when you are logging it and you're reducing it, and currently the forest is being destroyed at the rate of 3 football fields per minute. Per minute.
Per minute?
Per minute. And the rainforest has already lost 17% of its tree cover. 17%.
17% since when?
Since they started that.
What year started that?
They started this year. And they're going at it with a rampage because of money.
In other words, within 5 to 10 years, the whole thing will have gone.
If they do this, yes. The scientists have report that when deforestation of the Amazon rainforest reaches 20 to 25%, the lush rainforest will become a barren land because it will lose its ability to absorb carbon. However, the current Brazilian government ignores the warning expressed by its own National Institute of Amazonian Research, who is giving out these numbers, but the corrupt government of Brazil ignores it.
All right. And for that, my concern is that, of course, everybody else's concern is that the existence of the Amazon rainforest does not have it for one significance, for its forest land only. More on the positive side is the function. It absorbs the carbon dioxide,
yes,
releases the oxygen, that fixes up the ozone above, right? And then it continues within, like, say, 30, 40 years, that could be fixed by lots of hope, right? And the problem is that, is there anybody saying anything against it? Such as...
No, the environmentalists are screaming bloody murder. But the corrupt leadership of Brazil ignores it and don't care.
All right, my dear friends, today we're touching base with you with a very serious issue that I would like to say that if by any chance this message is delivered to anybody big enough, let's do something, because we can't afford losing it. Once it is started, there is no end of stopping it unless something big jumping on it. My dear friend, let's take a short moment out. We come back to continue right away.
Everything is expected to change. It's like seeing John Wayne.
My name is Paul James. I'm host of the news.
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show, Jack Chow with the East-West Show. Today joining me is my dear friend, Mr. Chris Nebe, world-renowned producer, director, and screenwriter. And he himself is an archivist going in and out of the National Archives for all the information necessary. And this time, what he has brought here, of course, is not only from our archives, because the news have it already, that the Amazon rainforest is no longer the rainforest, is being cut, is being taken advantage of by the Brazilian government for profit, which is a very dangerous signal that we hope that we will make a call internationally, let people, especially those important people, do something. My question, has this caused any attention to those the big guys operated by, the big organizations operated by big guys, such as Al Gore, such as Bill Gates?
Yes, but you see, the reality, they are not the Brazilian government, and I'll come to this later, but there is only one solution, which I will come to it later. But I like to repeat, currently the Amazon rainforest is being destroyed at the rate of 3 football fields per minute. The rainforest has already lost 17% of its tree cover. Scientists, and that's the Brazilian, their own Brazilian think tank and Office of the Protection of the Amazon rainforest are predicting that 20 to 25% of the
total acreage.
The National Institute of Amazonian Research has predicted that if 20 to 25% of the lush forest will become a barren land because it will lose its ability to absorb carbon. So the result will be that more melting polar ice creating, which is creating more methane. You know, that's the negative
Methane, yes.
methane. Rising and highly acidic ocean waters.
All right.
Devastating droughts. Drinking water pollution. More intense storms, as we are already witnessing in America, for example, and raging wildfires, as we have become common in California. There was just another one which almost destroyed 100 acres this morning in California, and a dramatically reduced and polluted agricultural food production. Because this is all a cycle, a vicious cycle. And then, of course, the extinction of species which are unique to the rainforest will also be increased drastically. So
speaking of the extinction of species, my friend Ivan Zhang wrote in his book that I am very familiar of, that the scientists of UCLA and USC, in the collaboration, they found out that there is about 1,000 species, extinct every single hour.
Every single hour?
Every single hour, right? And then, for example, take the bees, for example.
Yes.
If someday the bees are extinct, right? Our land will yield no harvest at all.
Pollination.
The pollination.
Yes, the pollination.
Because the pollination is totally relying upon those the butterflies, bees, and the butterflies, all those insects, right? So if they die, we all die.
Yeah. The last species who are going to die are we. And as you said, if 1,000 already die per hour, that means that soon we'll be among them, because, you know, you can count yourself when it is our turn. Because very simply, you see, it's amazing that the mankind in its greed for profits because cutting the Amazon will make billions of dollars profit because the wood is very precious. But what is happening there is actually a massive crime against humanity, not only against the environment, because it is such a massive crime that the nations of the world, in my opinion, should unite and give the corrupt Brazilian government an ultimatum to stop that or to be all put in jail. Because
that's terrible. That's so terrible.
yeah,
Yes.
because it's a direct affront against you and me.
And also, you know, there's one fact that Mother Nature has its ability of reproducing, balancing, and absorbing.
Correct.
Right? And for example, the fallen leaves, given a certain time, it will be rotten. It will be absorbed into the earth, right? And retaken by the plant as nutrition,
Right.
and grow into new leaves, and then closing the cycle, right?
Right. But if
However,
yeah.
That needs time.
Right.
If you do not allow Mother Nature the time, though, Mother Nature cannot help you.
Compost. That's compost. You see, and it's being it needed. It's like fertilizing. It's a circle and a self. But you're right. You see, we are destroying it faster than nature can rebuild it. You're right. Nature does have safeguards and things which
Restoration.
restoration and rejuvenation, but we are destroying it faster than nature can
Yes.
rejuvenate.
You do not allow time.
Right.
You do not give Mother Nature time to do so, right? I was wondering if someday, finally, Mother Nature, gets so mad, totally exhausted, totally retired, totally bankrupt. What will happen to human?
You see, dinosaurs have been extinct. So we will be distinct, but we will be, the world, I think, will not, if dinosaurs were distinct because they became a problem for the world and they were replaced by others. So there will be a replacement. I mean, the world is not going to explode or something, but we who depend on the world, on this little piece of world, we will disappear because in comparison to Mother Earth, we are the weaker element.
Also, it was so emphasized by Ivan Chang in his book that human beings so far have gone through 4 times of total extinction. In other words, to totally be out of the existence, right? However, none of these previous four, even though were caused by visitors from the space, such as a meteoroid, bang, hit the Earth, right?
No.
What, do you follow me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
All 4 of them were caused by natural disaster, even though no natural disaster caused the species to disappear all at one time. It all happened after. And then after the disaster, major disaster, one followed another, another, and in the span of, like, say, 1 million years, they all die. And then the discovery found out that we are in the process of the 5th one. You see my point? So the fast dying of the species really tells you something. At this very moment, the Amazon story is an add upon, just an add upon, so bad that we have to be vigilant. We have to do something.
We should invade the country and arrest the leadership. It's the only way, because this is a crime against humanity committed by elected officials for profit.
All right, my dear friend, my lovely audience, is we are at a level of talking about whether it is crime, right? It is crime against humanity, it's a crime against Mother Nature, whatever. The laws have to go that way, or the laws haven't gone that way anyway. We will have to discuss right after this little break. Stay with us, please.
Everything
We have to continue to work on
like
it now.
scenes on waves.
My name is Paul James. I'm host of this news
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show, Jack Chow on the East West. That is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, a Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry that stands for 400 years of glorious history and 10 generations being hand-forged by masters of craftsmen, which stands for the testimony of spectacular and a share of the royal glory. With me today is my dear friend, Mr. Chris Nebe, producer and screenwriter and the director of Hollywood, and also archivist, and who's making lots of important issues, including this one, the Amazon rainforest, which is the only one we have left. There are not many. We used to have the Mekong rainforest, right?
There are some in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, Southeast Asia, right?
In Africa, there are some in Indonesia. There are some spots everywhere, but there's none of them of that size and the concentration as the Amazon rainforest.
So now, at this stage though, what do you think we can do?
I mean, at that stage, people will protest, and hopefully, but the government, they need money and they care for the short-term solutions, and they don't care. They do not care, and unless you stop them at gunpoint and put them in jail, that's where they belong. Because they are destroying the world, not only their part of the world, but they're destroying the whole world.
So far, there's no United Nations interferences?
Yes, but you see, they say, so what? I mean, we need the money, and that's what we do.
What if United Nations go collect the money?
How can they collect it?
Satisfy the government, the Brazilian government,
No.
to make them stop doing it, the stupid thing.
That would
Or
be-
United States, us. Can we do something to either stop them or to coagulate them to stop?
I think right now America has other worries, and I don't think that anybody is really understands the dimension of this, because it should have never been allowed in the first place. And I don't know. It's one of those questions where I personally have no solution to offer, and I think there are a lot of people who think about a solution but are also helpless, because this is a sovereign government, and that government is in collusion with corporations and loggers doing this. And I mean,
There must be something. There must be some organizations, all right? At peaceful times, we have those environmentalists going around while making huge noises and collecting a huge amount of money. But right now we're talking about at the moment of needs zone. Where are they? We have to find them where they are. We have to ask them to do something to stop it, because if you do not stop it now, it is too late.
There are many things too late. For example, you see another crime against humanity, but that is perpetuated by you, by me, and everybody else, is
Which?
the issue of plastic.
Oh, plastic.
Plastic.
The use
plastic
of plastic, yes.
waste concentration in the South Pacific is the size of 3.5 million square kilometers, or 7 times the size of the territory of France, and growing by 80,000 square kilometers per year. Because the
floating plastic waste.
Plastic waste. This is like covered. It's not just a few bottles. It's covered. It's like a carpet. A carpet of 3.5 million square kilometers, 7 times the size of the territory of France. Oh, it's a big piece of land, a big piece of ocean. And you see the currents and human activities. Most of the plastic gathers in the North and South Pacific, the North and South Atlantic, and the Central Indian Ocean. And because plastic does not disintegrate, it takes centuries to disintegrate.
No, they say forever.
Yes, it does disintegrate to a certain degree, and it leaves very tiny pieces, which the fish
eat them.
And now the seafood is getting polluted.
And it comes back to us.
And comes back right in your mouth. For example, as you once told me that you found worms.
Yeah, little worms in shrimp.
The shrimp you're feeding your fish. Ever since that day, I do not eat any more shrimps. I used to love shrimps, and since I am a vegetarian, fish was my main source of food. I now now I'm almost a complete vegetarian because of you, my brother.
Yeah,
and
I didn't lie.
No, you didn't lie. I know that. And so, you see, the effects of sunlight, salt, weathering, ocean currents, and organisms turn plastic into those tiny fragments, which pose a major threat to marine life and ultimately to mankind through seafood consumption. Over 90%, I repeat, over 90% of the seabirds die from swallowing plastic. And it's being said, you see that these bottles, half of them, so they go in there and then they get stronger.
They got stuck.
It's awful. It's awful. I've seen footage being shot by environmentalists, and it's pathetic what happens to the birds, because the birds don't know what that is and they think it's maybe edible. The World Economic Forum warns that the total weight of plastic waste in the oceans will surpass the total weight of the entire marine life on planet Earth by 2050.
Total waste?
Yeah, the total weight of plastic in the ocean by 2050 will be larger than the total weight of the sea life, the marine life.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Of the whales, of everything.
By 20 what year?
By 2050.
By 2030.
By 2050.
By 2050,
yeah,
the total weight of a plastic waste
in the oceans will be more than the total weight of the fish.
Will surpass the total weight
of the
fish
in the ocean.
In the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's substantial. That's substantial.
So
only 35 years ago.
Yeah, and that's a crime perpetuated by us. We are all responsible. And you know, and there is, you know, that when you see, and I'm always wondering, I don't buy any drinks which are prepackaged, only beer.
Only beer, yeah, okay.
Only beer. I buy in cans. Being a German, we drink beer like water. But all these plastic drinks, bottles, this cup here, even though this is easier to be broken up to decompose than real plastic.
Well,
this
unless
is
you
styrofoam.
crash it yourself, though,
Yeah.
you let it decompose itself, it takes forever.
No, this takes a little less. Styrofoam is
less time,
yes,
you're saying?
styrofoam is less.
Just in the water under the sun.
Yeah,
Let it dissolve.
It goes a little fast. But the real danger is this clear plastic, that what you use, or the packaging. So, I mean, you know, it's just our way of life, but how can you change all this? And you would have to be, you know, everybody would have to become a saint and do what is right. And that is almost impossible to be everybody being a saint. I mean, there are European countries which are very, very strict. And for example, I have to mention Germany. We are very strict. If you are not the garbage, if you don't separate the garbage according to the different boxes they have, you are paying heavy fines. They're trying it here too, but it is not. It is half-hearted and probably also. You know, they do it, but they don't do it.
At least there is something that the rest of the world can copy, and to make a very, very hard laws, very, very hard restriction, to put heavy fines on those lawbreakers, right? So make sure that they are separated and they are recycled in the proper way rather than going into the seawater.
I'm not sure if it would not be better also, or probably that would be the best, to stop doing or to develop or invent a plastic substitute, something.
That reminds me, we have been applying the law in California for stop using the plastic bags for 1 year now.
Yes.
By July 1st, right? It is the last of July 1st, previous July 1st on 18th, 2018.
No, I think already 2 years.
Huh?
I think it's already 2 years.
Already 2 years?
Yes.
No. It
Yes.
was July 18th on
Really?
the 14th, 2018.
Yeah.
2018 to now, we're talking about 1 year.
Yeah.
For the 1 year, though, I believe we have saved quite a lot,
Yeah.
right? And at least it's working. That's something better than nothing.
Yeah, but we have to develop the substitute, something which is which decomposes instead of staying. But it's very difficult because, you know, if you look at it, how many uses plastic has outside of plastic bags, it's unbelievable.
And of course, you were talking about to stop the incoming waste, right?
Right.
But the existing waste, the 3.5 million kilometers, square kilometers there,
is already there.
is already there. We got to wait about hundreds and hundreds of years until we see something done to it.
Right. There are things being done. There is a Dutchman who has been financed and tries to do it to collect it and so on. But you know, it's so. You know what it is? It's always like this when it.
It will take
little,
forever.
Too late. But I mean, you know, nobody is to blame. We are all to blame.
Can we burn them?
No.
Burn a huge fire on the water anyway. With a huge fire,
It's a
to
flamethrower.
burn it into carbons, even carbon dioxide whatsoever, the better than the pieces of floating on it.
Probably.
So
but,
probably
you
we
know,
should
if
think about
with
it.
the water, it doesn't
All right.
burn.
Okay, my dear friends, we're talking about really scratching our head to do with ourselves. We human beings are really at a crossroad Either we continue flourish ourselves, or we continue marching towards a suicidal march forward. So with my friend Chris Nebe, the question is raised. We have to be sober-minded. We have to make a quick stop. We have to justify what we have been doing as a lifestyle, and otherwise we're talking about something waiting for us in the short future, which nobody wants. We'll be right back, please. Take a short moment out.
Senator claims everything
We
is
have
expected
to
and
continue
straight.
to work
It's
on
like
it
it
now.
seems wrong ways.
My name is Paul James. I host this news every morning.
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow on the East West, that is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, a Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry with 400 years of a glorious history, hand-forged by 10 generations of greatest craftsmen, which stands for a testimony to the spectacular and the share of the royal glory. Back to our discussion today. Today with me is my good friend, Mr. Chris Nebe, world-renowned Hollywood producer, director, and screenwriter, and of course, an archivist and a political commentator. Today, what he has brought here is something not very exciting, that we are losing the only one, the last only one, last but only one, the Amazon rainforest at a rate of 3 football field per minute. And I don't know how many football fields we have altogether at the Amazon rainforest. We're losing it fast. So together with that, we are really weighing our situation of nowadays versus the man-made disaster. Man, we are the humanity of, humanity is the only creature survived with the ability of making tools. With that, we developed into human being with a language, with a thinking, with thought, with ideology. But we lose our ability to make a judgment about what we do and we do not do. Right now, we seem to have put ourselves on the cross straight. Either we go on to flourish or we go on to suicide. Well, back to you, please.
You know, we mentioned before that because of all these activities, also our agriculture is being polluted, and the results of over-fertilization, etc., are a disaster for the agriculture. So while our food sources are shrinking, mankind keeps reproducing in alarming numbers. Soon there will be more people on Earth than there will be food available.
Which is true.
So soon we will run out of food because the masses, bound by tradition and lacking critical thinking skills, are about to destroy planet Earth by overpopulating it. I propose drastic solutions to reproduction. We must have very strict birth control. We must, because there will be no food, and we will eat each other in the end. We will be forced to eat each other in the end. This is a development. Nobody talks about it because it's ethically, it's religious, it touches on too many elements, but it actually is a very serious problem which is completely ignored.
I totally agree with you. Once again, my friend Ivan wrote his book. He did quite a bit of research on this in this whole area, though.
How interesting.
And according to his research, though, by 2030, the total population of the global Earth would reach 9.5
billion.
Yes. 9.5 billion instead of nowadays the 7.2 billion.
Right.
All right. Now, by 9.5, putting all the Earth's supportability by agricultural food yield, by farming, by sea hunting, seafood, in other words, fish, sea product, right? And then by hunting, by animal husbandry, by hurdles, right? You read. So altogether, their supportability limit, the red line, the red light limit, exactly shines there at the 9.5 billion level.
So?
Okay, now, and with the estimation of the present rate, though, by 2050, by 2050, 20 more years, you are to welcome another almost 1.4 billion.
Yeah.
Okay, where do we do this global Earth to get food to support the extra 1.4?
And you know, this question is loaded with problems.
And the conclusion is even disastrous, even scary. Okay, human being, even though we are intellectuals, we're highly educated, we speak a language, we have an ideology so beautiful, but down to the very point, though, we have to fight for food. When someday somehow it comes to the very point that we have to fight for food, though, and the only answer to get the supply to the extra 1.4 billion is war. Is the killing, right? That is the danger that is really there lying in front of us. So we have to do something. And in the meantime, we're cutting natural resources, such as right now we're talking about the Amazon rainforest, right? Which provides us water, rain, oxygen, and the loss of climate balance, right? So where are we going? With the plastic bottles, yeah, floating on the ocean, 3.5 million square miles. That's a lot. That takes about hundreds of
7 times the territory of France. 7 times the territory.
7 times of territorial France.
Talking about water, you know, America has water issues which are terrible. Do you know about Flint? The city of Flint, where the people still cannot drink the water because they still have to have bottled water, etc. There are many more communities who have polluted water, and the reason is always to be found in some environmental issues, either near or far or wherever. The aquifers are being aquifers, you know, the underground water is being largely endangered by fracking, you know, because fracking is used to wash oil out of the earth by water. It's a very complicated and very brutal way to get oil. So if you think about it, that in a city of Flint, in America, the land of plenty, do not have drinking water, that's an indicator what's going to come in the future.
I totally agree, all right? The problem is that under normal conditions at peaceful time, people are so fed to that they take everything for granted.
Correct.
I'm thirsty. Can you go get me a glass of water, please? Right? And without a thinking, there should or should not be a glass of water, right? There has to be a glass of water anywhere, anywhere, right? So under the circumstances, yes. But so on, let go as what we see now, right? Well, things will change. Okay, now, have you seen the film Chinatown?
Yes.
Of early
Yes.
early 1900.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
Not early 1900. It was in the 70s. The film.
1970s?
In the 70s or early 80s.
No. Early 70s or something.
Yeah.
All right. And that was the time California, Southern California, first had its aqueduct system, right, to supply the water.
Why was it called Chinatown?
Now, because all the schemes were made in Chinatown. Because the major players,
Or
were
the
in China.
workers?
The major players, the big ones who
Yes.
controlled the water lines were in Chinatown. That's called Chinatown.
But where in Chinatown?
Where in China? No, I don't know
It
where.
was a fictitious town?
Yeah, fictitious word
I
because
see.
they are the big players.
I see.
They are the they are the benefiters. They were in Chinatown, right? So the Chinatown, and you see how much a bloody war that was over water. And now, with more than 150 years now, you look at the LADWP. You see what happening with the rate, with hike, with everything,
Unbelievable.
with the construction, with everything, with the fake constructions, with the rate hiking and everything, and with the 1 million or 200,000 of one worker for overpay for a year though, you are seeing exactly the same bloody story as you see 150 years ago in the film Chinatown. So now, my prediction, Ivan's prediction was that if there's someday, somehow, we come to the verge of that point though, when water, even a drop of water means life to death though, you see, there's going to be bloody war where you, I, everybody has to join in because we want to survive.
I mean, you know, if you look at these things, and we are just scratching the surface today, it's really frightening. Because we are effectively destroying ourselves.
Yeah, we are committing suicide ourselves.
And you know, you can't really even blame the government or any country because the problem is just too big, and the problem is too many people. If you would cut half of the Earth's population, there wouldn't be that kind of problem because there would be...
It's too late to do that. It's too late to do
yeah,
that.
It's
right?
too late for everything.
Even at the 7 billion level, we are devastatingly fighting a war against limited resources. Right. Okay, my dear friends, we're over time, but this kind of a discussion, even though not very common, would serve as a wake-up call, my dear friend, that we want to even... there was a quote this morning that he and I, we worked out that we do not believe that we can change the world, but you can do something you can, right? Let's do something we can. With me today is my dear friend, Mr. Chris Nebe. Thank you very much for coming here. And with my audience, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.